My name is Richmond Jeremy. I did my men's weekend in June of '01. I'm here with Milt-Evans, who did his weekend back in, I gotta remind myself, August of 1983. And we're here gathered with some men off camera who are all here to learn from Milt about how to be more effective at enrolling men into the men's weekend. Milt has just a phenomenal reputation over the years for being just a master at enroller and also very persistent at it. And we all have occasion to be grateful to him. I know that I have been very inspired by you, Milt, in the matter of enrollment over the conversations we've had over the years. And the first two men that I put into the men's weekend are as a result of a talk we had. Or actually, no, it was something I heard from another man that you said to him.
Okay.
So, and we're creating this tape as a legacy for Milt, really, and also as a resource for all the men who are in the circle now and to come later. So, thanks for doing this.
Yeah, you're welcome. You said persistent and successful, and those are the same thing. That's not two different things.
Okay. So just to get you on record here, how many men have you personally sponsored into the weekend?
124.
124.
Yeah.
Okay. And how many more do you reckon that you've been sort of instrumental in helping? I know personally you went to lunch recently with a man that was thinking of it and helped to sponsor complete that.
Yeah. At least twice as many, let's say.
At least twice as many.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I know the answer to this, but going back to 1983, have you always been that effective, that fluid, that persistent?
No.
So how did it come about that you arrived here?
I did the S training in '77, and then did Landmark's 6-month enrollment training program in the winter of '80 and '81, and I was as bad at it as it's possible to be. I was kind of proud of being 0 for 300, before I finally enrolled somebody. So no, and after that I had 5 or 10 people in the S training, and then I did this thing called the Sterling Men's Weekend, and my effectiveness went way up, and I just kept coming. I was going to enrollment events in the years after I did the weekend. I guess I joined the enrollment team in '85, and I really did feel like a stop sign or a yield sign in a busy intersection. The event was going on around me and I had no idea what to do. So, no, I did not start. It's like anything else. It becomes easy after you get good at it. But first, your fingers hurt when you start playing the guitar.
Thank you. I know... when I first heard about you, what sort of went through my head is, okay, he's good at it, he can do it, but I couldn't, because I was getting my set of no's as I went out to try. And even today, do men say no to you?
Of course.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a low percentage game. It's, if you... I think there's a dating guru who says his success rate talking to women, just approaching women, is 19%, and he's proud of it. I think 10% is good. So if you think 10% is good, then when you get 9 no's in a row, you're not bothered by it at all.
That actually is what made the difference for me when I heard that secondhand through you.
Yeah.
And it gave me the courage to go out and ask 30 men, and my ratio was 15 to 1. I had two.
It's not a problem with you. It's a question of whether the other person's open to a new possibility.
That's great.
Right?
What do you do when a man says no to you? I know that you persist with him in some way, or try to, not right away perhaps, but...
No, if it's a real no, I just thank him and talk about something else.
But haven't you followed...
I try to determine if it's a real no.
How would you do that?
Ask, do you want to talk about this again in the future? And usually they do.
And when would you make a note to follow up with that man if he said he was open?
Ask him.
Okay.
How big is right now? Not right now. How big is right now? And, most recent answer I got on that was 2 months. But sometimes it's 2 weeks, or can you call me on Monday, or I'm in graduate school and I'll be out in 2.5 years. Whatever the person's reality is.
So it could be 2 years or 6 months. And
Sure.
you just make a note in your calendar to
Yeah,
call him?
the idea is to get him to be honest with himself about, is he considering this really or not? I don't care. I don't need to know. He needs to know. So he needs to know, oh, I'm definitely not doing the weekend for the next 6 months because I'm starting a new business, and then talk to me. I don't actually need the information. He does. But, it helps me because I do keep a list. And
Now, I did hear of one time, and maybe it's happened more than once with you, where you actually met a man, pretty much met him for the first time in the afternoon, and he came to your team meeting in that very same evening.
mm-hmm.
And
I don't remember that. I do remember a man who did the weekend that evening because somebody had asked him to talk to me, and we met at Burlington Mall for lunch. And the context was his struggle in his marriage, and I recommended the weekend, and he said he couldn't do that. I mean, it was that evening. It wasn't unreasonable to say he couldn't do it. So we talked for a couple hours, and then he said, how much is that weekend again? So, we ended up my wife took care of his dog, and I drove him to meet the bus, and he filled out his paperwork on the way to the bus. And, that's his generosity and openness. I'm just providing the opportunity.
Mm-hmm. Well, when you start a time...
Not to minimize that.
When you start a conversation with a man, how do you begin it?
I ask him if he's done the Sterling Men's Weekend.
Just that simple.
Yeah. Have you done Sterling Men's Weekend? Or unless it's obvious that he hasn't. Recently I was at a New Year's Eve party, and the man's wife had done it, so I said, I know your wife's done the Women's Weekend. Are you going to do the Men's Weekend? Just because I want to know right away if he's open to it at all. Because, an example I like to use, if you ask me if I'll go on a wilderness trip, the answer is no. It doesn't matter if we're going to China or Colorado or South America. I'm not going. So, and many people are just not going to do personal growth workshops. It doesn't matter what it is or how much it costs. So let's find out if it's a flat no.
If he says, what is the Men's Weekend, how do you go about describing it? If you were to say, well, no, I haven't. What is that?
It's a workshop for, about 150 to 200 men. It takes place over a weekend, a couple times a year. And its purpose is to help you find the source of your power and manifest it in your life.
That's really a simple way, very straightforward and without any overlay of either mysticism or...
Right. I'm not saying that as the right answer, what I just said. It's just an example of trying to answer the question honestly. So what I'm really doing is trying to answer the question honestly, given the listening of the person I'm talking to. So it might come out differently in a different example, but...
Mm-hmm. So I understand. It might be different depending on the man and where you are and how he strikes you.
And whether he's, interested in his marriage or his relationship with his son or his career or his self-esteem or, why is he interested in this at all?
What I hear in this so far, in part, which is that you're actually very curious. You're not bringing something to him and trying to bludgeon him into doing it or get him to realize how good it would be for him.
Right.
You're actually interested and curious about his life and whether it would work for him.
Yeah. The whole pushing, bludgeoning, thinking that I know thing, if you stay in this, quote, enrollment activity for a while, it will beat that out of you, so that you're... In a network marketing thing that I'm doing, they say that amateurs try to convince people and experts just sort. We're just looking for people who would want to do the weekend if they knew what it was. They don't know what it is, but if they knew what it was and what it would do for them, would they want to do it? Some of them would. We're trying to find those people. We're just looking to find them.
Right. Just out of curiosity, so I think you've already answered this question. The shortest time you remember between you met a man who registered, that was that man.
Yeah.